To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So in yesterday's video, I showed you we went back to the Save-A-Lot and we found some real bargains on meat, including Hamburger, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we got 20 pounds. So these are 5-pound logs of Hamburger. We got it for $11.95 each. So that's $2.39 a pound, which is, in my mind, still a little high, but of course you need Hamburger for things, I guess. So since there's a sale on it, we went ahead and got it. We don't get a lot of Hamburger because it's always so high. Decided to go ahead and get a large quantity of it. And then I also bought some pork. We got another 20 pounds of pork that we're gonna can tomorrow. So today we're gonna can the Hamburger. I think I kind of implied in yesterday's Hamburger that I could cold pack it. You can't cold pack ground beef. You can cold pack beef, but not ground beef. What happens is you might get too much meat in it and it would boil over and you wouldn't seal. So first thing we got to do today is we got to brown the Hamburger inside this. So we'll do all of the 20 pounds all at once. And then you put it in the jar, and then you're gonna put boiling water inside the jar, and then we'll start canning the Hamburger. We can only do 10 jars per pressure canner that we have, so we have 2 pressure canners. Now yesterday, I found out that this new Coleman stove that I've got can actually handle both pressure canners at the same time. So I'm hoping that that'll work. If not, we still have the other, our primary Coleman camp stove that we'll use. The problem with that is then that ties up that all day long. Can't make coffee. If you want lunch, you can't make lunch. So as you can see here, we're gonna cook up the ground beef. I said earlier that there's a difference between hot pack and cold pack. What we're doing today is hot packing. We're gonna cook the beef, then we're gonna put it in the jars, and then we're gonna put hot water in the jars. Cold packing means you just put the meat, and so tomorrow we'll do a cold pack. You just put the meat in the jars, and then you cook it. You don't need any water. The fluids from the meat itself actually produce the liquid that you need in the jars. So while Carolyn is cooking the Hamburger, getting it browned up, I've decided to start boiling the water that I'm going to need to put into the jars. Now I've already washed my jars here. I got them soaking in warm water. It was hot, but of course it's cooled off by now. Before I put the hot water into the jars, I will dump this water out. I will refill it from my hot water heater to get it nice and hot so the jars don't crack when I pour the boiling water into them. Now, as I said, we're gonna do 20 jars, so I have some more jars soaking down here. Okay, so the Hamburger is now brown, so I'm gonna fill it with the warm jars. Now, I got the jars and the pans of water that I told you about. Now, we don't have a colander because we live in a tiny house, so fewer utensils. It would only get used, what, once? So we don't have a colander, so I gotta make do and try to squeeze it out with the spoon here. Now I got a funnel here that fits inside the jars. I usually don't use this, but with the Hamburger I think it's going to be a lot cleaner to do. We're going to fill the jar until it gets to the rim of the jar. Okay, over here I got the boiling water. I'm going to just pour the boiling water into the jar. And you got this knife you can get all the air bubbles out with. Okay, now you take your lids that you're going to use to put on top of the jar, and you put them in a pan of water like this, and you just kind of simmer it for a few seconds. You don't want to boil it, you just want to simmer it. That helps soften the ring so it seals better onto the jar. Also, I think it helps sterilizes it. Okay, so we got all the jars filled up. And we had a little bit of Hamburger left over. I'm guesstimating 3 pounds or so. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this into Sloppy Joe mix, and we'll have Sloppy Joes tonight, and then of course that'll leave us a couple extra pounds left over. We'll just have Sloppy Joes for the next 3 nights. So the next step is we gotta make sure that the rim of the jar is clean. So when you put your lid on, that it gets a good sealing surface. And you wanna use, I use vinegar, straight vinegar, on my washcloth here to clean off the ring. And so now we have our lids. They've simmered in the water here, And so we have our little knife that we use to take the air bubbles out. On the back side of that, it has a magnet. You can take the lid right out and put the lid on. And then finally, you're going to put your ring on, finger tight. And then we're going to put it in the canner. So while that was pressurizing and getting ready to steam, I went ahead and filled the water tank here. We use a lot of water when you're canning. And it's something I said in a previous video, that if you're going to can off-grid and you have a limited amount of water, I mean, we have an unlimited amount, we got the well, I just fill the tank every day. But I use about twice as much water canning than I do just regular day, just using water, taking showers, different things. If you have a limited amount of water on your homestead, you're going to want to make sure that you have a stockpile of water to can. And you just waste it on different things. I feel like we waste a ton of water. Filling up pots so you can keep your jars warm. So while I was sitting here talking to you, one of the canners has already started jiggling. So that means I'm going to need 2 timers. I was really hoping to avoid that. I wanted both of them to jiggle at the same time. I'm going to give it a couple seconds before I start the timer. Maybe the other one will start up. But if not, I'll start 2 timers. I'm going to let this start rocking and rolling for a minute. And then I'm going to turn down the flame. The reason you want to turn down the flame is you don't want all the water in there to evaporate inside your canner. If you have it just jiggling as hard as it'll jiggle, you'll lose all the water. Okay, good. It didn't take that long, and this one started jiggling. Just a couple, maybe a minute longer after this one started jiggling, this one started jiggling. So now I can use 1 timer, and I don't have to try to keep everything separated in my head. So I'm going to start the timer, and I'm going to do it for 75 minutes for pints. If it was for quart jars, you would do it for 90 minutes. Okay, so I'm turning down the flame, and you can see it's still jiggling, but I think I've turned it down too much, so I'm going to turn it back up. Now the other thing this does is it really saves on the amount of propane that you had to use. If you just ran this full blast for 75 minutes, oh, you'd use so much propane. Certainly is an advantage doing this outside, especially during the summer. This gets really hot. I've done it in the house before. Oh, it just heats up the whole house. The air conditioner's running nearly nonstop. But doing it outside, you can feel the heat coming off of it. So you're not heating up the house, and you can walk away from it. Okay, so that timer means that the pressure canning is done. So I'm going to shut off the flames to both canners. And now I have to wait until the canner's cool enough that this drops down right here. When that drops down, then I will know that there's no pressure in the canner. Then I can take off the jigglers, take the lids off, and I can remove the jars, and then the cans will vacuum seal. You'll hear the on the cans. Now, something I forgot to mention is I'm running 15 pounds of weight. These jigglers have 5, 10, or 15 that you can unscrew it and they come apart. Normally you would do 10, but I have to do 15 pounds because I live up above 1,000 feet. Okay, so both tabs have fallen down now on both canners. So that means now I can safely remove the jiggler from both of them, and I can take the lid off. Okay, so now I'm just going to remove the jars, and I'm going to set them over here. And you want to space them out a little bit, so you don't want them pressing up against each other. That way they can cool. If we have any luck here, we will be able to get these lids to pop down while we're still on camera. Okay, so the lids are now popping down. I've heard several of them pop down. I can see several that are popped down. So far, we've got some success going on. At least they're not all a total failure now. So you can probably see that there's calcium buildup because our well has so much calcium in it. Right there, you can see I can probably wipe that off. Now, people will say put vinegar in your canner and that calcium won't build up on the jars. However, what they don't tell you is the vinegar will make the rings rust. So if you're the type that leaves the rings on, which I am because I don't have storage for them, I leave the rings on, and you can do that. The instructions on the back of the package that comes with the jar Actually says you can do it either way. Leave the rings on or take them off. But the vinegar will make the rings and the lid rust over time. So I don't use vinegar. Besides that, it's just more cost. When all I really need to do is just take a little washcloth, dry, and it comes right off. You might have heard some of the lids popping down now. Now, the camping stove. This worked fantastic. A lot better than the other one because it held both canners. The other one can only do the one. It just wouldn't fit over there. And that one's a really nice one. It's a very expensive one, but it's got the little clicker that you can click and light, that you have to use a lighter or match on this one. And I'm just going to use it for canning and as a backup stove in case this one ever goes out on us over here. Any other time, I'm just going to put it away. Of course, I'm going to leave it out tonight because tomorrow we're going to be canning some more. So as soon as this cools off, I'll close it up. But I like that one. It really did a good job. So 20 cans Hamburger that we now have canned. That's going to be 20 days worth of food. It's fantastic. I just can't tell you how much this canning thing is really making me happy. As long as we got enough jars that we can can the meat chickens when the meat chickens are ready to be butchered, I'm going to keep canning. So we keep counting, make sure we got enough. What I don't want to happen is we not have enough jars and we got to go and try to find some. You can always find them on Amazon, but they're really expensive on Amazon. So we may actually have to start backing off on canning until the meat chickens are done, I guess next month. So I hope I can inspire you to seriously consider stockpiling some food so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.